All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to pull apart a habit that feels so natural for so many people, that morning cigarette with the newspaper. But what if that connection, that feeling that it's just right, isn't natural at all? What if it was programmed?
I mean, you can picture it, can't you? That quiet morning, maybe you've got a cup of coffee, and that simple, almost sacred act of lighting up as you unfold the paper. It just feels complete. It's a moment of calm that kind of sets the tone for the whole day.
And here's the big idea we're going to dig into. What if that deeply felt connection, that sense that a cigarette makes the moment perfect, wasn't an accident? What if it was engineered? We're about to see how this ritual was carefully built, not just something that naturally happened. So, to really understand how this works, we have to shift gears. We've got to move away from that cozy, familiar feeling and look at the actual science behind it. We're talking about something called the habit loop. It's this powerful pattern in our brains that basically runs all our automatic behaviors on autopilot. Turns out, pretty much every single habit you have, whether it's good or bad, runs on this simple four-step framework. First, there's a cue. That's the trigger. Then comes the craving for the reward you're expecting. After that is the response, the action you take. And finally, the reward, which satisfies that craving and basically tells your brain, hey, remember this loop? It was a good one. Okay, so let's plug our morning ritual right into that loop. The cue, sitting down with the newspaper. Your brain starts to wake up, you're ready to focus. That triggers the craving, that almost unconscious thought, you know what would go great with this? A cigarette. The response, you light one up, probably without even thinking about it. And the reward, boom, that feeling of being relaxed, settled in, and alert. It's a perfect little loop. But here's the real question, where did that loop even come from?
And this, my friends, is where it gets really interesting. This habit loop didn't just appear out of thin air. No way. It was systematically built, piece by piece, and reinforced over decades by some of the most clever advertising you can imagine.
Just look at this timeline. We're talking about a 40-year project to build this exact association. It started way back in the 50s with ads placed right inside the newspapers, showing these cool, sophisticated actors reading and smoking. Then, when TV ads got banned in the 70s, all that money got funneled into print, making the newspaper the perfect stage for this connection. By the time the 90s rolled around, that link was basically set in stone in our collective culture.
And get this, they weren't just selling a product. They were selling an identity. The message was crystal clear. Smart, thoughtful, deep people, they smoke. It wasn't about the nicotine. It was a signal that you were reflective, you were mature, you were in control. It was basically marketed as an accessory for your brain.
And this right here is the whole game. The entire identity, that feeling of sophistication, that sense of calm focus, it was all a brilliantly constructed illusion. It was a story told so well and so often that it started to feel like the absolute truth.
Okay, so let's go a layer deeper. Let's look at how this illusion actually plays out inside your brain. What is really happening during this morning ritual that feels so peaceful? And how does the cigarette manage to swoop in and take all the credit?
Well, here's the crazy part. The peace you're feeling, it has almost nothing to do with the cigarette itself. I mean, think about the context. It's morning, you're sitting still, you're not rushing around, your breathing is probably already slow and steady, the day hasn't started yet, your mind is just absorbing information, not reacting to a million emails. The moment itself is already peaceful.
So what is the cigarette actually doing? Well, it's not adding a feeling of calm. All it's doing is getting rid of the discomfort of nicotine withdrawal. It's silencing that low-level agitation, that little bit of an itch that you might not even consciously notice. So the calm you feel isn't the creation of peace. It's just the temporary removal of an irritation that the addiction created in the first place.
And this, right here, is the heart of the whole illusion. Your brain was programmed with the thought a cigarette will make this moment better. But the reality? The peace you were looking for was already there. The stillness, the quiet, the focus, all of that was part of the moment before you ever lit up.
This line from the source material just says it all, doesn't it? The cigarette is like a credit thief. It shows up to an already peaceful moment, fixes a problem that it created, and then turns around and takes credit for the entire good feeling. It literally hijacks the peace.
Now, understanding all this in your head is one thing, but really feeling it for yourself, that's where the power is. So this last part is basically an invitation for you to run a simple little experiment on yourself, just to see this truth in action.
So here it is. The next time you sit down with your paper or a book or just your morning coffee,
Just try it once without the cigarette. Seriously, no pressure. This isn't some huge commitment. Just sit, breathe, sip your coffee, read, and just notice what happens. What you'll probably discover is pretty amazing. Everything you actually value about that moment, it's still there. The calm of the morning? Yep, it stays. Your ability to focus on what you're reading? Still there. That reflective, thoughtful state of mind? It's there too. The only thing that really changes is that little nagging craving, and that, you'll find eventually, just passes.
And that brings us right to this final, powerful idea. The story we were all sold was that the cigarette completed the moment, but the truth is, the moment was already complete. And realizing that doesn't just change how you see this one habit, it makes you ask a much bigger question. What other moments in your life have you been told are incomplete, when really they've been whole all along?